Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a look at an incredibly fun team in the Halloween Cup featuring Shadow GOLURK, Pawniard, and Charjabug. Shadow GOLURK has been one of my favorite Pokemon for a while, and it turns out it's actually really good in this new Halloween Cup meta. As I mentioned, I paired it up with Pawniard and Charjabug and went on a 15-5 run with the team, and my goodness, it is so much fun to run. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out the team in the Halloween Cup. Hopping to the first match, picking up the Dream lead, Shadow GOLURK into Carbink. Opponent safe switches into a Shadow Victory Bell, and I immediately respond with my Pawniard. Pawniard, with the lightning fast energy generation from Fury Cutter, fires off the Night Slash and grabs a shield from the Victory Bell. Victory Bell, these Razor Leafs, even though they are resisted, still doing quite a lot of damage. I'm going for Night Slash number 2. The game shows weak connection, but Pawniard is anything but weak, making it to a third Night Slash. Get that Victory Bell out of here. Victory Bell used 2 shields and it still couldn't overcome Pawniard. Opponent is going to be sending in their final Pokemon, and they are so weak to GOLURK. Look at the Mud Slaps go, absolutely destroying the Shadow Mawile. In comes the Carbink, and this is about to be a dark day for Carbink. Carbink being hit with that Shadow Earth power, that plus a couple Mud Slaps will just about get the KO. They're able to make it to a last second Rock Slide. That's gonna KO GOLURK, but now I can just send in Charjabug. Charjabug doesn't really have to do much in this game, just making it to the Discharge. Discharge will safely KO the Mawile, and we win with both shields remaining. Moving into the next match, leading Shadow GOLURK into Toxapex. This is a pretty nice lead for GOLURK as long as the GOLURK has shields to hide behind. Brine would hit for massive damage. Shadow GOLURK, as I mentioned at the start, is a bit of a meme Pokemon. It's extremely glassy, but in exchange, it does a massive amount of damage. I'm going to farm up 3 Mud Slaps. My opponent now has the energy for a Brine. This Shadow Punch will KO. My opponent commits the shield. They want to get that Brine off, but they do not win CMP. GOLURK fires off the Shadow Punch. Opponent double shields. Oh man, it looks like whatever they have in back is weak to GOLURK if they're double shielding. I double shield myself and get the Mud Slap farm down. Opponent sends in a Tyranitar. Tyranitar gets fully farmed down by the GOLURK. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. The great leads continue for Shadow GOLURK in this set, as GOLURK is now met with an Escavalier. GOLURK can go for a 1-shield farm down versus Escavalier, and that's made even easier when the opponent throws on alignment. I get an entire Mud Slap for free, I shield up the Drill Run, and I leave very healthy and with a massive amount of energy. Opponent sends in Greninja, and I'm farming up and firing off the Earth Power. No baiting here, opponent will commit the shield. I'm looking to catch a Night Slash onto Pawniard, but my opponent shows great patience, holding on to their energy, and this Hydro Cannon is gonna hurt. Hydro Cannon nearly KOs the Pawniard. I'm only making it to 1 move, so I go for the harder hitting Iron Head, but my opponent makes a very nice catch, catching the Iron Head onto Charjabug. Bad news for the Charjabug, however. I still have the Shadow GOLURK. These Mud Slaps only hit for neutral, but their Volt Switches are double resisted. GOLURK absolutely shredding through the poor Charjabug. Charjabug is going to be firing off an Scizor to get the KO. And now I can send in my own Charjabug and look for a farm down. Opponent is going to fire off the Scizor. They're going to send back in Greninja. Here, unfortunately, my opponent gets 1 turn bring in. That's really, really rough. I call the bait. It is the Night Slash. I try and end up waiting for them there. Unfortunately, I only ended up waiting 3 turns, not 4 turns, so I still do end up getting a sneak. So we end up getting the win, but with the bait call, we should have been in a winning position regardless. And Shadow GOLURK just keeps picking up the leads, now leading into a Shadow Nidoqueen. Opponent save switches into Greninja, and I'm going to respond with my Charjabug. Greninja goes for the Hydro Cannon. That does big damage. I'm looking to farm up 2 Volt Switches and throw on perfect timing just before they're able to make their next Hydro Cannon. Scizor will be shielded by my opponent, and now I have a decision to make. Do I decide to try and commit for switch advantage? No, I actually decide to let this go and go for energy on Pawniard, because Pawniard does very well into Nidoqueen as well. My opponent now going to send in the Nidoqueen, but they are down energy and down shields, and this is not a favorable matchup for the Nidoqueen. I'm going to be firing off the Night Slash. Night Slash will connect, and Pawniard gets the boost. Oh my goodness, let's go Pawniard. Boosted Night Slash will be shielded. Opponent has enough for the Earth Power, but I'm confident they're baiting. We're risking it, calling the bait. It's the Poison Fang, and the opponent immediately concedes the match. We're looking for the 5-0, and what a lead to do it, leading Shadow Golurk into Shadow Nidoqueen. Opponent is going to save switch into Umbreon, and I'm going to respond with Pawniard. This is a matchup where having Scizor on Pawniard would be really, really nice. I chose to run Night Slash and Iron Head because I felt like that was the better coverage for the overall team, but in this particular matchup, it does make the Umbreon matchup, if Umbreon has an energy lead, a bit uncomfortable if you're the Pawniard, which is a bit surprising. They're going for foul play number 2. I'm farming up. My opponent, their fast moves are coming through very inconsistently, but I'm still able to keep good timing. Unfortunately, they live that Iron Head, and I'm going to be forced to go down a shield if I want switch. And considering I have Charge Bug in the back that gets completely walled, I need to keep switch. And now my opponent is going to send in the Nidoqueen. I'm farming up to the Iron Head and baiting with the Night Slash. Night Slash will be shielded. Pawniard gets another boost. Oh my goodness. Pawniard, you menace. We go for the boosted Night Slash. We get both shields from the Nidoqueen. And now I can send back in the Golurk. They do have enough for the Earth Power. Again, Shadow Golurk cannot take a hit whatsoever, so I will commit a shield. In the back, it's a Azumarill. I send in Charge Bug, but there are still lose conditions in this match. If my opponent is able to get a bunch of farm with the Nidoqueen after my Charge Bug KOs their Azu, then I could still lose this. So my plan is, I'm going to go for the Discharge, get them low, and then just kind of wait for them. So I am going to get them low here. And then I decide, you know what? The clock has gone for long enough that I can actually KO them, because now I can go for the double X Scissor. That's going to burn the switch clock, and then I can send in Golurk. My lose con in this moment was like throwing a bunch of energy and them getting farm, whereas here I can burn the switch clock, get the snipe with the Golurk, and secure a 5-0 set. We see a terrible lead in the next match, Shadow Golurk into Golbat. I'm going to save switch into Pawniard. My opponent is going to respond with Palisand, and with an energy advantage, Pawniard can actually make a play towards flipping this. I throw the Night Slash, and I get another boost. What is this boost look on Pawniard? Oh my goodness. Scorching Sands will be shielded. Pawniard farming up, and I'm very close to the back-to-back moves here. I'm firing off the Night Slash, opponent commits the shield, I make it to another Night Slash, and this is a CMP tie. So I can win the 2s, I'll be able to outpace, my opponent lets it go, and we get another boost! You've got to be kidding me! Pawniard, a little bit stealing the show here. Oh my goodness. And now this is a quad boosted Night Slash onto a Golbat. That nearly one-shots. Oh my goodness. Golbat is going to be firing off the charge move. It is going to be the Poison Fang, and that's not going to cut it. In the back, opponent has Greninja, and I can just send in the Charge-a-Bug. Charge-a-Bug, these Volt Switches are tearing through the Greninja. Greninja goes for the Night Slash, hoping for a boost, but the boost will not happen, and the opponent resigns the match. So the first 5 battles were from the 5-0 set. Afterwards, I'm just showing some miscellaneous battles from the other sets that I did with this team. And we pick up a pretty okay lead here, leading Shadow Golurk into Forretress. This can only be a Mirror Shot, so I'm going to let that through. Mirror Shot does a lot of damage though, oh my goodness. I go for the Earth Power. Opponent makes a very nice catch, catching the Earth Power onto their Umbreon. Earth Power still does a solid chunk of damage, and now I can send in Pawniard. I'm basically banking on the fact that they're trying to bait out a Charge-a-Bug with this switch, so instead of sending in the Charge-a-Bug, I'm sending in Pawniard. I'm farming up with the Pawniard. They're firing off another foul play, and that's perfectly fine. Because I can tank this, as we've seen, they're going to need a third move if they want to get the KO. Really unfortunate timing there. I was trying to throw one turn before, so I decided to go for an undercharge so I can get a farm down. And this way, I get to leave with energy. Energy is hyper useful versus just about anything you're going to see. The coverage that Pawniard has is incredibly good into this meta. I'm firing off the Night Slash. Night Slash will be shielded. I'm able to make it to another Night Slash. This is quite nice. I have a tough decision to make. Do I decide to pivot or do I let myself get KO'd? I just decide to let myself get KO'd. I send in the Charge-a-Bug, and honestly here, I had lost count. I was like, I think it's just a Mirror Shot. But plot twist, it's the Earthquake, and in the back, it's Dragalge, and just like that, the win con disappears. I don't have a way to beat the Dragalge. If I still had my Golurk alive, I'd be in an okay spot, but the Golurk is just too low. I can land the X-Scissor, switch in the Golurk, the Mud Slaps will do massive damage, but it's just not enough. Dragalge in the red health gets the win, and I get KO'd with both shields remaining. We pick up a pretty okay lead, Shadow Golurk into Shadow Scizor. In the one shield, I should just be able to Mud Slap all the way down, so that's my plan. is I'm just going to shield once, not throw a move, and farm all the way down. My opponent is going to fire off the Night Slash. They're now going to send in Drapion, and I'm forced to fire off my energy here. If I threw one more Mud Slap, they'd make an Aqua Tail, so I'm going to bait, save energy for later, and I'm going to send in Pawniard. In this meta, Drapion should be running Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail is pretty consistent into a lot of what you're going to see, especially if the Drapion gets stuck up against the Carbink. They're going to fire off the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail is going to connect. I'm going to farm up with the Pawniard and go for the CMP tie with the Iron Head. This is quite nice, as this way, if they shield, I can just let the Pawniard go. At this point, Pawniard did its job, it got the final shield, and now I could potentially make a play for Shadow Golurk with energy. Golurk looking for the farm down, but Drapion says no, making it to one final charge move. I will commit the shield. Let's see, what do they have in the back? I have energy on the Golurk. In back, it's a Tentacruel, and oh my goodness, it's all over for the opponent. Earth Power will cleanly one-shot. In comes the Shadow Scizor, and that gets mud slapped down by the Golurk. Moving into the next match, leading Shadow Golurk into Pawniard. Again, like the Scizor matchup, as long as you have a shield as the Golurk, this is a pretty okay matchup. My opponent is going to be firing off the Night Slash. I can just shield once and farm down, and my opponent is going to pivot into Golbat, and now I can send in Charjabug. Charjabug does pretty well here. I should just cleanly win the zeros. If my opponent wants to commit shields, that's fine. My goal in this matchup is either to retain Switch or just get the shield back that I used, and then I can deal with it with Pawniard. My opponent is going to let the Golbat go. Let's see. That Pawniard is extremely low. In the back, they have Dragalge. Last time, Dragalge was an absolute nightmare for me to deal with, but this time, my Shadow Golurk is a lot healthier. I'm going to fire off the X-Scissor. That does absolutely nothing. Dragalge is a definite pain for Charjabug. And now I can send in the Pawniard, basically just to force them to throw energy, and then I can trust in Shadow Golurk, and they throw right away. They are energy dry. I think I can KO in 4 Mud Slaps. So I'm going to aggressively switch into the Golurk. Mud Slaps will get the full farm down, and the opponent concedes the match. Moving into the next match, and we see a familiar lead as I lead Shadow Golurk into Shadow Scizor. Same game plan as before. I'm just going for the one shield farm down play here and looking to leave with quite a lot of energy, so that way I can threaten whatever my opponent decides to send in. So I'm going to be shielding up the Night Slash. Very nice charge move timing there from the opponent. Opponent gets the boost, and that's not good. I'm very low. Opponent sends in a Wormadam, and I don't get my charge move off. And just with that, I might have lost the game. I could send in Pawniard here, as Pawniard does heavily resist confusion, but Bug Buzz would do massive damage to Pawniard. Pawniard is not very tanky, so instead, I'm going to send in Charjabug. Charjabug is quite a bit tankier, and I do outpace the Wormadam dramatically. I'm farming up with the Charjabug. I'm very close to the back-to-back discharges here. I think with one more Volt Switch, they're going to be in discharge range. I'm farming up. It's a CMP tie. This has to KO, or my Charjabug will get KO'd here. Discharge barely does not. The 1 HP Wormadam. You've got to be kidding me. Bug Buzz will KO. In the back, it's Toxapex. And I've made a lot of mistakes in this match. If I had just thrown the Earth Power, or if I had brought Pawniard in against the Wormadam, either way, I'd be in a really good spot. But now, I'm just going to lose. My opponent will go for the Brine. Unfortunately, I don't have the greatest IV Pawniard ever, so I'm not able to tank 2 Brines plus the jabs. I go for the Night Slash. I get the boost. Wait, can Pawniard save us one more time? I think the Toxapex is just a bit too healthy, but we'll see. Night Slash gets them low. Toxapex will make the charge move, and I think that's going to be game over here. Brine from the Toxapex barely does not KO, but the Poison Jab after does, and we lose that game. Hopping into the final match, one more dominant lead for the Shadow Golurk as I lead into Charjabug. The fact that Charjabug is staying in is a bit concerning because if they have Crunch, I'm just KO'd here. However, in this meta, I'm definitely expecting people to run X-Scissor and Discharge as it's way better coverage into the meta. So I risk it, it is just the X-Scissor, and I'm able to get the KO. Let's see, what is my opponent going to send in after the Charjabug is out of the way? They send in a Shadow Nidoqueen. Oh my goodness, they are so weak to my Golurk. Oh my goodness, I'm just going to let this go. Just send in Pawniard. In the back, they have Carbink. At this point, my opponent has no realistic way to get rid of the Pawniard, and they resign the match. All in all, Shadow Golurk is probably the most fun Pokemon you can run in the entire Halloween Cup, and it turns out that it's actually really good as well. As I mentioned, I had a ton of success with this team. Quite a few members of my Discord were trying it out today as well. One of them even gained 250 elo in one day with the team. Shadow Golurk and Charjabug form a nearly perfect core, whereas Golurk is just a really powerful core breaker, and Charjabug is incredibly good at beating the stuff that Golurk does not want to see. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.